Hey there, American Horror Story fans. We are super excited about this episode. American Horror Story Roanoke Chapter 4. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
What is up, American Horror Story fans?
Yes.
Welcome to the after show for American Horror Story Roanoke Season 6, Chapter 4. I am your host, Alana Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at That Alana Jordan Girl. And today I am joined by
Michelle. You can find me on Twitter at MICH_Madison TV, but mostly on Instagram at Michelle_Madison TV.
She got the Instagram game on lock.
Yes.
You can find me, Zach, at Zach Kelch on Instagram and Twitter as well.
And you can always find us on AfterBuzz TV, both on YouTube and on iTunes and SoundCloud. So if you're checking us out on YouTube, be sure to go and subscribe on iTunes and SoundCloud and vice versa. And no matter where you're checking us out, be sure to comment because we love hearing from you guys.
do.
Please do.
And I feel like we're probably going to have a lot to talk about tonight.
It's a
Oh,
lot.
yes.
Some violence.
So before we dive into the episode, just initial thoughts overall. What are you guys feeling?
2 thumbs up.
We had a lot of whoa moments in this episode.
I loved it all.
I kept standing up and sitting down because I was
Yeah.
just taking it all in, and it was a lot.
You stood up a lot
I
towards
stood
the
up
end.
a lot.
You were
I
like
was getting
anxious.
antsy.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
I had a few Home Alone moments, definitely, with the
I know.
I had a lot of hoo-hoo, well.
Yeah, I haven't had like a good gross out from the show in a while, and
Oh,
that
yes.
happens. Guys.
So-
that definitely happened.
I
And thanks
think
for bringing the wine because we needed it
Cheers.
tonight.
we did. I needed to calm myself.
If you've noticed
Yeah.
that we have our fancy straws,
Because we're so classy.
we're drinking wine, and we don't want it to stain our teeth because we like you guys.
Right, because no one wants to see that. We wouldn't be we'd be looking like Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tonight.
Yeah, which finally she speaks.
She had
Yeah.
a moment tonight.
Lots of moments.
There were
Yeah.
a lot. So let's dive right into
Yeah.
the episode.
Nice segue.
That was actually very natural. I'm proud of us.
Pretty much.
You know, we can pat ourselves on the back. It's okay. Nobody's stabbing us or shooting us in the back, so we can pat ourselves.
Yes.
So to kick off this episode, it leaves right off. Leah's been taken away. Lee isn't in this episode at all. This is just Shelby and Matt. Shelby is accusing still, what's up? Why you banging Gaga in the woods? And Matt genuinely doesn't remember.
Right.
Every guy's great defense.
All right. Well.
Which she, yeah, I know, right? I'm like, guys at home, do not get any ideas.
he-
Lady Gaga seduced me does not count as a good excuse.
At least he, as a man, as whatever we're throwing out here with this, got to a place where he understood that her, whatever he was hearing that she saw was real enough to her that he had to question whether or not maybe he actually doesn't remember it. Maybe he's in the wrong. And they come to a mutual understanding where he really something must have happened to him and he just does not remember
He
this.
breaks down.
And he breaks down.
Breaks down.
And she believes him and says that she doesn't believe he's culpable, which is just
Because his eyes.
his eyes.
The eyes are the windows to the
Man.
soul.
They
He
have
knew
that
someone
soul
well
connection.
enough to like understand that. That's true love, y'all.
That's
Yeah.
some true love. I feel like I would not immediately be like, I believe you.
I mean,
That's fine.
It wasn't immediate, but yeah.
Let's team up together and fight the pig man.
Right.
What he says later is kind of, I don't know if she's going to be happy about hearing that, though. But I don't want to jump ahead.
This is kind of the
Yes.
perfect episode that just bookends, like, right?
Yeah.
It does.
With
Yeah,
some
right.
relationship drama.
Right.
Because if colony drama isn't enough.
Love and colony drama. Love and hip hop meets romance.
I was just about to, I'm glad you went there because I was going to.
I love it. So, if Psycho has taught us nothing, then we know, let's take a shower when something seems like it's off.
Yeah.
Let's just hop right into that tub. That'll be fine.
Vulnerable all the way naked
I don't
and
know.
everything.
What would you be doing to like kill the time in this moment? It's like you feel like you're stuck in a house where anything could happen at any moment. Like sleeping would not be a realistic option. But like,
I guess that's
Not being
true
alone?
too. Yeah,
true.
But in that
That's
house,
true. I would literally
never.
never be alone.
Never.
I would also have a rule that you can't close shower curtains or doors.
Yeah.
Like they just
Everything
stay
would
open.
be open.
If the shower curtains are closed, something terrifying's probably
Right.
back there because we have an agreement. You put the toilet seat down, you put the shower curtain open.
Right.
Rules
And
for living in a haunted house.
did I miss this? Did we lose electricity in the house?
It's just dark and
Because
spooky.
they're intentionally not turning lights on. When I'm just like, I would have that place lit up like a Christmas tree. Personally, the ghosts already know I'm in there. It's not going to matter if I'm visible literally or not.
But
Good
then
point.
it wouldn't look as pretty on screen when we watch it.
True.
Yeah.
Understood.
We assume that they have production designer mentality and they just
We're putting too much
it's
of our
an
logic
old
in it.
house.
Also,
They're all on dim.
Also, we
we-
do have to remember that technically this is all a dramatic reenactment.
Yes. It is a dramatic reenactment, which there you go, that makes sense.
But we
See,
learned-
you just answered your own
I
question.
did. Hey, that hasn't happened
I like
before.
it.
And we
Okay.
learned something new about the house because we
It's
didn't
good because I
even
had no answer.
we didn't know that the house was only completed in the late 1700s because we thought it was much older.
Yeah, it was 1792. Edward Philip Mott was
at
the
us.
first person.
Our own history channel right,
Right.
here.
Hello.
Maybe if my history teacher looked like you, I would have paid more
I
attention. in class.
know.
Look at you guys.
We have all these history buffs
going.
going around, you know. Your history teacher doesn't look like ours.
Okay, guys.
So we learned this
Pig
because
monster, though.
Pig monster attacks.
Uh-huh.
And finally, Shelby and Matt are on the same page. They both see the
A
same.
mutual attack.
Yeah.
Mutual attack.
Bonding
It only
moment.
took this long to finally happen. And they're chased around. Mr. Piggy has
Big man.
I still like Pigman better. They call him
Yeah,
Mr. Piggy in this
it's-
one, but I like
yeah.
Pigman.
Pigman's more.
We're calling him
scary.
Pigman.
Yeah.
Big man.
So Pigman's got a knife, which not scary enough to be a pigman. Now you're a cleaver wielding
Right.
pigman. Shows up, and luckily, turns out the professor was not dead. He was just
Been here all
waiting
along.
to bash some piggies.
Yeah.
He was just waiting.
Bash some piggies. Okay.
Dennis O'Hare. Happy to have
Dennis
you.
O'Hare,
some
resident
piggies.
piggy basher.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
So he KOs Piggy Man, and then ominously, he'll be back.
He'll be back. But what's interesting about the Pigman attack is that up to this, we didn't know if the Pigman was a tangible, real man in the woods, maybe separate from the colonists or what, because we had seen him kind of in interesting circumstances. But this time, in the attack, he very much, did a ghostly teleportation moment where he popped into different
Yeah.
places of the house. So we kind of realized like he is more of a ghost than he is a real man. So that was a good learning moment for us.
But he's starting to get, instead of just being an apparition, now he's starting to get physical capabilities. There's a physical thing.
Right.
We've seen the things before, which we've had a little bit of with the bonnet, and we've had kind of a little bit of that crossover,
Right.
but we've never had any of the malicious
Right.
things being physically interacted. It's been quick things. It's
right.
been in the hot tub.
Because
we don't know. Yeah.
Because twofold, his end was Dennis O'Hare stabs him, he gets knocked down, but immediately jumps back up. But then he yells the word Croatoan, and he goes, poof, and he's gone.
Which I love. Finally, Shelby is all of us going. That is the
What
third
the-
time we've heard
Like,
this.
what
is
the
going
hell
on?
is this word?
And I love
been
that she
saying
just
it.
blatantly is like, just
Just someone
we
tell
get it.
me.
We get it's creepy.
Like,
just fill us in.
Come on.
And this is
So-
like our second connection to a prior season because we have Pigman. Is it second season? That we
Eric
had
Stone Street references Pigman.
Yeah, because he was getting therapy for Pigman.
Yeah.
And Pigman in that one, I think, kind of touches him, but it's like a really quick thing when he's in the bathroom,
Yeah.
gonna take a shower with his therapist.
Oh, was it shower?
Yeah, because
you're right.
he was in the
Yeah.
shower, and his therapist made him go
Well,
in and look in
because
the mirror.
pigs are
and say,
notoriously dirty. He's just trying to take a shower.
That's
We
why
now
it's the-
know the
Oh.
motivation.
Yeah. So
Sure.
we're so we have the wallpaper and we have Pigman that lends to a
Well,
prior.
no, and now there's a third, the actual Croatoan.
Croatoan,
They
which we
discussed
have
Oh
that
yeah,
word
they
blatant
discussed
reference in
in
Coven.
Coven. Yeah, so
Which
that's
is described, when basically this season is kind of described as just a brief overview when they're saying this is how they were banished was using that they collected all
Right.
of the talismans and say the word Croatoan.
And it was a banishing magical word.
Yes, which clearly
Right.
didn't work so hot. So
but
get your
it
facts
seemed
straight,
the
Billy.
professor starts to tell us some more stuff that we.
The professor starts to tell us a lot of stuff. First, we know now Croatoan is associated with dark power and blood magic.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yes.
Which finally we're getting some sort of something. It's basically it's a spell. So now we know it's not a person. It's not Gaga. It's a spell. Elias has been the guardian of this house. Unfortunately, ran into some financial issues and lost it.
As one would when you're basically just dedicating your time to living in a haunted house and doing nothing
Not living
else.
in it because he
Well.
lives somewhere else.
But where's your income coming from? But
Well,
I
that
like
was-
being too
Right.
logical.
Because he's a
Right.
professor. He sells books and things and probably teaches online classes, we're assuming.
Okay.
We know he likes
So
his
for the
technology.
last, what did he? It was like for the last 20 years or so.
Yeah.
He's been.
But he's been living somewhere else and just paying for this house so that nobody will go to it because he
Right.
personally had what we saw in the video. He knows firsthand, I got to save these people, because he also knows it wasn't just for
history.
him. This goes back all the way to the 1700s.
When the first house was built.
So 1973 was the last one before these guys. From 1792 with Mr. Mott to the poor chins in 19...
No,
it was
then
89.
the nurses.
89, you're right, the
were
nurses in
80s.
89.
Yeah. They were the last
which that
ones.
was October 29th, 1989. We find out they're all in the same lunar cycle in October,
Right.
which actually... The last blood moon we had was last year at the end of September, but whatever. It's all
Technically.
October for this
Planetary
one.
stuff changes. Yeah.
So we find out about the poor Chen families who immigrate here from Taiwan to start a better life.
Not
And
the best welcome to America, guys.
no.
Sorry.
Poor family.
Yeah. No one told them. Yeah. They
Yeah,
didn't have a
nobody said,
chance.
hey, by the way, this is haunted. So
Yeah.
But how come we don't see them as ghosts?
You did. They were in the circle playing with Flora.
yeah,
were?
the
Totally
little
missed
girls
that.
were.
Oh, okay.
Just
then
the,
we have-
I think we just saw the
yeah.
one, the youngest girl.
Yeah. So then we see them, and then we hear about some 3 hunter brothers, I think they said, or men
The
who
ones
lived
that killed
together.
each other.
Yeah.
Who
Yes.
just the brief story we
3
got that
hunters.
they essentially, like, it was like one of the group suicide kind of things. Allegedly, they all blew each other up with their shotguns.
Yeah.
And then we heard what happened to our crazy nurses finally.
Yeah, Miranda
they
and
deserved
Bridget.
it.
They did.
They did. I'm so, okay. So this
Should've
was
been
scene
worse.
number 1, y'all. When I was looking back and forth, she got straight up pulled apart.
She got her arms ripped off of her body. I have to say too, these horrible things that we're seeing on screen, these are real things, y'all. This actually
Yeah,
happened.
yeah.
Colonial times. This was how they punished people.
Even prior.
They put-
Those are
yeah.
like the oldest forms of punishment.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying like up to colonial times, the people that we're like, oh, our founding fathers, this is so great.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, let's rip each other's arms off.
Yeah.
Not about it.
Nope,
But
then
not a
we
fan.
see-
I don't like the big class.
The other one,
Yeah.
the other girl got it easy. She just got straight up
head just-
beheaded.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
and after she watched her sister get
She got
ripped
all Marie
apart,
Antoinette.
which I have to say, I almost think that would be worse because having seen it, just the fear of it.
At least the actual death would have been instant. And she technically
Yeah.
felt that.
I think that they both should have suffered a very long,
A lot more for how
yeah,
much-
They didn't suffer enough to me.
That's how I feel. I
Yeah.
feel like they
Michelle's
had one
over
of
here
the.
like, they got it easy.
They did, because what they did to those people. Yeah, they should have
True.
suffered. Like, they should have taken their nails off
That's
one
would've
by
been-
one with the pliers
Oh,
All right.
and glued their eyes shut.
see, the
Remember
butcher
when-
missed out. They needed Michelle to move in.
Remember, like,
She would have had like a really good.
Like 2 weeks ago, I said you're gonna be my cuddle buddy for the season moving over. That's no
But
longer.
at least I'll
Okay.
protect you. If
Will
anyone does
you?
anything to you, you know I will like make them suffer.
Okay.
I know if there's ever a
Alright.
zombie apocalypse, I'm calling you first.
Yeah, for
Hey, I'm
real.
just saying.
Damn. She will spike
I'll
those
get
zombies
done
with her
messing
heels.
around.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
she's ready.
will. In the neck. Yeah, I will.
So I agree too. This is the one time that I think they could have, for a show that
should've
tends
went
to
in
push
with
the
them.
boundaries, that is the one time that I would say we would all be on board with you just
They should have got
taking them
cricketed.
apart. They should have gone cricket.
No, I don't
Yeah.
want it. But okay.
That's the only thing about this, which we'll get to. But this show, I swear, I feel like they are just stabbing me in the heart over and over
Why?
because they're like, oh, these characters you don't really care about. we'll kill them quick.
It's a little-
someone you love.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
they get the harshest. It's like being innocent or being nice gives you the worst punishment.
Oh yeah.
It's like the opposite
The second
of what
the audience
horror
loves
movies
you,
teach you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
it's all going downhill.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, Ryan Murphy. We
okay.
wanted our innocent people, though.
So then we find out that basically all of this occurs because of what they call the dying grass moon, which is a 6-day lunar cycle, which is basically an epic super blood moon where the veil between the living and the dead is basically lifted and the dead are able to physically attack.
Right.
So they have 6 days.
Right.
6 long days.
Which, this is another thing that I have to say. How come the professor, if he had been here the whole time, he knew that it was up for auction, why didn't he show up day one and be like, hey, BT dubs?
he didn't have the money right then. His book sales didn't come through.
So he literally, I mean, he actually needed the money over,
we're being
We'll
too
talk about
logical
that.
right now.
He
We're being
just
too
showed
logical.
up like right when he's like, we have to leave now or we're going to die. Maybe show up the day before. We need to leave before tomorrow.
Good points, but that's just too logical.
That's true. Then there wouldn't be any
true.
story. It would be like, here
Exactly.
we are.
No drama.
Oh, the Motel 6 is
Right.
out of corn nuts.
right.
Yeah,
Right, right.
that's not great.
But,
So,
but we kind of glossed over, though, what all this is. We find out that all of these murders, yes, we're learning more about the blood moon and the 6-day cycle that we have, but it's when the butcher, Kathy Bates, is coming to rid all people off of her land because this is her land. So it's just her attacking this house to wanting to never have anyone living in her land, and then we go into some backstory this episode. Lots of backstory.
lots.
got
We get a lot of
everything.
backstory. But we also, before we even get to all of that,
Really?
yeah, before we even get to all of the...
It's a lot,
It's a
guys.
lot,
It's a
guys.
lot.
They are... Priscilla had led them to Elias. Now Elias is leading them to Priscilla.
Right.
Because Elias knows now, he did not know that Flora was taken until they say, hey, our niece is taken. He says,
So
if
we
the
can't
butcher
go.
has them, they're gone. We got to go. There's no time. No time for this little girl. Changes his tune immediately when they say Priscilla. Who, you know, they even say that's how they now realize the figure that we were trying to figure out who it was in the woods leading them. It was confirmed now. That was Priscilla.
Hey, at least we nailed one assumption early
Yeah.
on. Like, there's one little kudos, I guess.
Yay.
And yeah, which, I mean, it's so hard to figure out everything
Right.
that's... I so far, I think we've been pretty good. We've
Yeah.
been pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we find out, too... Well, not so much find out, but we see Lady Gaga's character in her full glory in the woods as they go out. And just as she was able to draw Matt in, she does the same thing to Shelby. Shelby is now compelled to chase after her in the woods while Elias is going, guys,
It's called
different
vengeance.
motivations, though.
very
Yeah.
different
It's called
motivation.
vengeance. Like,
They ain't
no,
about to
he's
get
my
down
man.
with the get down. Shelby wants to rip her weave
Yeah,
off.
she was like, he's mine.
But she even says, something about those woods make you lose control.
Right.
It makes your emotions, it just intensifies them.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think is that's just the motto of the whole season, I feel, is something about those woods make you lose control, because everybody is losing it out there. This is when they see Flora playing.
Right. So because Elias explains that there's on the edge of the property grounds, all of the spirits of those who have died by the hand of the butcher are permanently stuck here. And so they have a certain area where they kind of stay away from the butcher and her people, and they just exist in Ghost World together. And so they basically walk up to like a schoolyard circle of mixed ghouls playing, and right
like
in the
that,
middle of
mixed
it
ghouls.
Mixed ghouls.
right in the middle of it is poor little Flora blindfolded being pushed around like any other children's game
Yeah, I
might
thought
have
that was
it.
kind of disturbing to me. Like,
That was very disturbing,
Yeah.
which I
like, they
think
were
was
like
the intention.
playing with her.
With the two murderers. That was another issue I had. I was like, get Bridget and Miranda out of that happy circle.
Yeah.
They are murderers. I don't care if the murderer murdered them.
Right.
A murder murdering a murderer doesn't make her not a murderer.
Right.
Okay,
But
say that
it's-
10 times fast.
But it
I think that
seems
is
like-
more times than I've said murderer ever in my life.
But
If
you
anybody's
know-
playing the drinking game at home and it's for murderer,
Oh, we should start that from now on.
Yeah.
Pick a word.
bye.
But it seems like Elias kind of says to them, you know, Priscilla knows me, and for some reason, we don't really understand it at this moment, but Priscilla might have some sort of power or authority over the rest of them. So he thinks that he can reason with her to let them hand Flora over.
Maybe because she's the first. Because she was
Which
sacrificed.
we don't know at this point. That's what I was saying, yeah.
We assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, because we know that everybody else in the circle is from these later eras. So we do know, like, at this point, she was in the oldest garb, at least. I always think of bridesmaids now. That's all I can think. She's in traditional colonial garb. She's on the way.
Turning butter on the way. Right?
But we see Priscilla, which the issue now is Flora and Priscilla are the same level of transparency. They're physically there, so they don't know. They still don't know. Is Flora dead? Is she playing? Is this the end of her life, or is she being protected by these ghosts?
Right.
So they are very torn as to what to do. Hopefully Elias will get us through, except Elias
can
gets
take his own
straight
advice.
up Game of Thrones and just gets
Yeah. Bow and
So
arrow.
he gets,
Katniss Everdeen. That's what I was trying to say.
He gets skewered real good.
Yeah.
And Matt and Shelby
Hunger Games.
Shelby tries to run and grab Flora, or Matt does, but they just know it's not realistic and they both flee.
No, they see this entire army of weapon-wielding
Zombies.
colonial
ghosts.
ghosts
Zombie,
people
whatever they might
that
be.
have now
That are
less
now
than zombies, because zombies at least are dumb. Like these are like
Functioning
these are
humans.
just
Yeah.
who are not too pleased with everything that has happened in their life and end thereof. Which cue one paranormal reference mentor guide. Well, he's gone. Time to bring in the other one.
Bring back Cricket.
Cricket! I love me
Cricket's
some cricket.
back to chirp some more.
So basically they run back to the house and he's waiting at the door being like, are you finally ready to do it my way?
Nanny boo-boo, stick your head
Yeah.
in doo-doo. I told you to listen to me.
He just waited too. He's like, this
Right.
will be the most dramatic and interesting moment, and should have listened to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, which is why I love Cricket.
And he comes back with a juicy, juicy story to tell.
Yes, juicy.
Because he, basically in the meantime, since we last saw him, he went back out to seek the butcher out and try and reconcile with her. And she was having none of it. She didn't want to debate or deliberate anymore. But lo and behold, someone else came and found
The
him.
real queen bee.
That is true. The true.
We still don't know what to call her, do we? Or do we?
We do.
Enchantress.
Scathach.
Scathach?
Scathach.
Scathach?
Either Scathach or Scathach. It's Chathach. So says our closed captioning. Whenever she spoke, Scathach was her name.
We have to look up what that means, because she's an English girl, right? So where does that
Yeah.
name
She was
come from?
originally, which we find out because Cricket, again, which the butcher, it makes sense that she doesn't really want to
Yeah.
have any more
She's stubborn.
deals because,
She screwed
which,
herself over.
Michelle, you mentioned this last time though. The deal was Flora, they get Flora and then they leave. She didn't deliver her half yet.
Yeah.
So I still don't understand how they're the one who went back on the deal.
Well, see, now at this point, we assume that she thinks, whether it's true or not, she thinks that she has to make new human sacrifices, I think, during this blood moon every year anyway. So I think
They
at this
haven't had one for
point,
20
she's
years.
just like, we gonna kill them regardless. So
She
Somebody.
also just seems like she just likes killing.
Yeah.
She's just kind of itching
You're
for a
not
good
wrong
killing.
there.
Yeah, pretty much.
She finds different fun ways to do it. We'll throw our sickle at your dad, Chin family. We'll rip your
Yeah.
arms off.
She said she wanted fresh blood for the soil.
Right.
They haven't
Yeah.
done anything for 20
Right.
years, so you know.
And Mama was in no mood.
Oh,
Right.
she was mad.
So says
Okay, but
Cricket.
get back to Cricket and Scathach.
So then
because I
Cricket-
actually just want to replay this in my mind anyway, because it was a good scene.
So Cricket goes out to the woods and then returns, has no clue how long he's been out there. So you've been out there for hours. And he says, okay, well, I found the Scathach. I offered her Matthew.
Why did he
Just
offer
heads
her?
up.
Why
Casual
did he,
drop.
But why did he offer her Matthew? Let's go into that.
Well, she gives him the whole backstory, and he needs something to be able to. Right. She blows her magical whatever dust that lowers the black veil, as he calls it, which you just can't see, bro. Like, that's such a fancy way to say
just
that.
Say it.
Yeah.
She may be supernatural, but she needs a little something.
There's a lot of pigs and very little pork. Just saying.
Oh, God. Didn't love that.
So, nobody did. Nobody did, and I will not apologize.
It's okay. Sips wine.
So... So basically he's like, you got some womanly needs.
Yeah. Even
You're
in the
not
supernatural.
feeling what Cricket's bringing, but we got Matthew. So
she already had a taste of him, so she went more.
He knows how to bargain or whatever it might be, because he knows he needs to stroke her ego a little bit before he's going to get any information that he needs, and that's like, because then she gives him all the information,
right? Which she says, you know, I know you are the great and powerful one. You're the true power. And then she shows, yes, I am.
Right.
This is how the butcher got her power, aka how I gave it to her. And we get the full backstory on the butcher.
Yes.
No pun intended with the back.
Oh. Yeah. She does
Literally a backstabber in every sense of the word.
She went black and now she want mo. Sorry, I had to say it. Had to say it.
Oh gosh.
So we find out that the Lost Colony, set up shop right where their house is. This is their land. Even though they've been saying the Lost Colony, but that was so far away from here. Well, obviously they moved here. We kind of assumed that by this point, but now it's blatantly spelled out for us. Yes, this is where they set up shop, and this is how it went down. Thomas and White was basically not too beloved by all of her followers because she starts killing people. Human sacrifice.
Right.
Because, you know, at this point, the Scoutitch is the reason that she's alive. So
She had to appease her.
she appeases her. Of course, this Puritan, the colonists who literally left for religious persecution, aren't super down with the whole,
Another religion.
we moved here to avoid having our religion stomped on.
Right.
You're now literally stepping on everything that we believe in, and we're killing little girls. Let's not be throwing rocks on little girls' heads.
Which Priscilla, this is where we see Priscilla was the poor unfortunate little girl who was the first sacrifice.
Which I was wrong. There was no cannibalism. It was just smacking her on the head.
Just
I
smacked her on the head.
still want to know why
but-
she called her a bastard. Because I feel like
I
it
don't
should
get
have
it.
been,
Why was she picked? Why'd they pick that little girl in particular? Like, why wasn't it somebody
I think
else?
And why does it have
if
to
I
be
had to
a
assume
kid?
it was probably just the general assumption that her husband was sleeping around and she was born from just another woman, and it was known, and just
I wanted it to be the butcher's husband, that it was his bastard child. That's what I really wanted.
I thought it
been
was
cool.
that. That's
John?
what I would assume.
That's what I wanted it to, for her to say that.
But I mean, he died already, so we won't get that confirmation.
Yeah. Maybe. We'll see.
But-
We'll see if they give us any
So
more
yeah,
on
so
it.
her son in particular is just like, like
Again. Ambrose
again.
is not feeling it. Ambrose is like,
Yeah.
Mom,
Sir,
come on.
Like, you gotta grow a backbone either like consistently or not at all. Because you can't, you can't stand up and then when your mom's about to get murdered, you're like, okay, bye. He's going back and forth, but whatever.
We see on this show a whole lot of just very dysfunctional mother-son relationships throughout every season, I feel.
But he does stand up for good things, though, because he stood up against his mom being banished. He stood up against his mom's ways for this one. It's just that
his moral compass is pointing the right
they're
way.
good, but it's like
just
wrong
wavers.
timing.
Yeah. He saves his own skin, basically, is what he's out for morality, but he's also out for number one.
Right.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work out for him so great because the scout that just says, hey, they all want to leave. They approach poor Thomason, pre-butcher, and say, hey, we're going to bail. We're not down with what you're doing. We're out. You're out of power. Done.
Right.
Scoutitch says, hey, how about instead we bind all of their souls to you for all of eternity and you can rule them for forever? And she says, that sounds good.
All you gotta do is give him a little fruit and murder the hell out of them.
And then let me slit your throat
Yeah.
as a final sacrifice.
So this is...
And her response is, of course, Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything
Sounds
else.
good.
That
Sign
sounds
me up.
good.
You know,
We'll just go
Could do
murder everybody.
A casual 40-person massacre tonight.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
I'm just wondering, how did she introduce this new fruit and no one said, where did this come from? Because apparently, if I'm
Didn't she just like say a brief statement like new world, we've like new fruit or something, assuming
Yeah,
like this is
before-
something that you haven't seen before? Like then they're just like, oh yeah, of course.
But wouldn't you say, where did you get it from? Like, how does this? If we're all harvesting crops, like where this? Okay, I'm just being too logical. I was
Yeah,
just
you
like,
are. In my mind, I mean, it took them a while to like be a little upset about a girl getting her head smashed in, so I don't think the fruit being presented to them would be on their.
Good point, Zach.
And just to add insult to injury, poisonous, murderous injury, she does a final toast in the name of Jesus Christ and everything that you believe in and everything that you gave up to be here. Ha ha.
Yeah.
You're like,
basically.
what? Really?
She's super selfish.
Jeez, woman. So.
But this is the birth of the butcher.
This is the birth of the butcher.
Because-
Thomason is no more. She's now the butcher, and she has her
Cleaver.
cleaver.
So I mean, we get that. I love that shot when it was like kind of the the aftermath of that, when it panned over the group of all of them, even Thomason. Now her throat slit because the scat that cut her throat, and you could see the like blood shining and soaking in the grass, because it was very literal of how we now come to understand the spell that keeps all of them there. And I thought that it was a really beautiful shot, but it was cool to have so we could kind of like literally see it.
It was it was a beautiful visual representation of what they're saying. This is how the ground became consecrated. Now, there was that much energy, there was that much betrayal, there was that much emotion.
Evil.
And evil, just pure evil. That soaked into the land. Literally, we see it soak in. The production design on the show is so good.
It is, yeah.
There are shots like that you're just
Where are
like,
they filming?
I don't know, but I want to go to
Because
there.
in my mind, like, are they filming in the South? But then I guess they literally could be filming like in the woods.
They're filming
anywhere.
here. I'm pretty sure it's in
Right,
LA,
they are,
but I don't
yeah.
know where.
Where is that in LA? Looking like Amityville.
Somewhere
I
want
mean,
to
that
be.
house could be built like.
Yeah,
Who
but it's just
knows?
the
I
woodsy
mean,
part. I don't know. Okay. It could
I don't know.
be. We'll research that.
Take a hike and you can see some creepy enough trees. Who knows?
I don't want
Take
to.
a hike.
No
It's
hike.
in Runyon, guys. It's just
I'm
like,
not doing that. No.
We're jogging and the lost colony of Roanoke shows up. We're like, Zach, why'd we listen to you? So we get the backstory for the butcher. We find out how she is made, and the cricket himself now knows
how to end her.
how to end her. Unfortunately,
Which we like immediately when he said this, we all looked at each other and we were like, it's not.
this is
poor
not going to end well. I'm
No.
like, Cricket, you have been doing this for how long? This is not your first rodeo.
when
Bring your kit with you, bro.
Or when a character discovers some key information, if they can't or don't immediately share it with others, there's no way they're going to get the chance to. And we know that their end is near. That's just what happens. So
Come on, guys. We know your phones work. Use the cloud.
Right.
If
So
he could get an Uber, I mean, dang it.
Right.
He could
so
Google
exactly.
that.
However, this show, I do have to say,
He
The
could Google some
one of
spells.
my
Fun.
favorite things
Good
of the
little
show.
comedic relief is always appreciated.
They're so
like-
good at doing the subtle comedic relief where it's the lead up. You're physically leaning in. Like, what is he gonna say? Oh, my Uber's here.
Yeah. Well, now we know how he's getting
Perfect.
transportation. Because
Right.
I'm like,
Leslie
So
Jordan, I love
he
ya.
pieces out and he's just like, he just tells Matt and Shelby, just like hang out here. I'm gonna be back.
I'm gonna go get some stuff. I need to go get some sage, some sacred herbs, a pocketbook of chance.
Right.
These sound like things that would fit in a little bag
Yeah,
that
he
you
should
could
have a
take with
satchel
you
on
at
him.
all
Right.
times, since apparently your only job
is to
Is
to ward
off
using
evil
these
spirits.
things and stuff. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know the property you're going to, so you should always be prepared.
No doctor shows up for a house call and then goes, all right, I'm just going to run back to the hospital real quick and get all my stuff.
Yeah.
Be right back. I just popped in to say what up.
Right.
Come on, Cricket.
Yeah.
But it gets Cricket into the Uber, which then gets him onto the road, which is then when he almost runs right into, physically, literally runs into Flora.
But right before that, another comedic relief point.
Oh yeah, the gay for pay thing.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what, Cricket, you don't have money? Or you're just trying to see if the Uber driver swings your way. I
I'm
was
thinking
just
probably
like,
the latter, considering he just got $25,000.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay. All right. That's all I
But
wanted to say.
then
I'm not mad at him trying to get some.
That crucial moment doesn't get to play
It's like
out.
Matt gets some. If Matt gets to bang this crazy ghost,
Why can't I?
somebody should get some, you know.
Yeah.
So then Flora runs out and ruins it for Cricket.
Yeah. So
But-
then Flora back out into the woods, which, I'm sorry, Flora, what are you doing? If you see a car, maybe get in that car.
Yeah.
You know,
Get in the car. Go.
At this point, I don't know. Do we understand the timeline of how long she's been gone? It's just like it's been
days.
We know
days.
days.
The
Days,
phrase, quote
yeah.
unquote, days.
Over 72 at least.
I mean, I can't. Yeah, I guess we can't assume that she's.
We assume that it's at least probably at least 3 days because we know, that Lee was just taken right before off with the cops, and that was right after the 72-hour period.
Right.
So we're assuming probably about 3 to 4 days she's been out
Right.
there, which I guess ghosts have some good food. She looked pretty. I mean, she was running. She was
Yeah.
pretty spry for being out for 4 days.
But I think she was used as a pawn to do that. I don't think she did that like a little kid.
Did they
running in the
just
street.
sent her? I think.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, maybe that the butcher got a hold of her and
Yeah.
then chased her across, and she was so scared that she just kept going.
Or told her she had to do it or her parents would die.
Right.
Or her mother
yeah.
would die at this point. 'Cause I don't know. She
But it gets Cricket out of the car and he chases into the woods after her.
Yeah.
And immediately we're just like, sign, seal, delivered.
No, not don't ever run into the woods.
Yeah.
No.
You're so
Especially
close.
if you're not a primary character.
Especially if you just said something funny and we're kind of happy. Nothing good is going to happen to you.
Yeah. You can't get too comfortable in
Yeah.
movies like this.
But this is my thing too. If you already know you have the into it, it's just however far it's at the Royal
Right.
Crown Motel. How about we go to the Royal Crown Motel, come back, end it, and then you get Flora?
Reel it in. That's true.
We're too logical.
We are.
Right. I mean, yeah, you can't watch.
Because we would have left the house a long time ago.
Right.
That's true.
Day one, we would have left after the teeth.
Right.
So
We
we're
wouldn't-
too logical.
They wouldn't have a show about
Yeah,
this.
they'll be
There
like,
would
no.
not be a show. It would be
They would
just
hate
a
us.
trailer.
They
It would be
you
like,
guys
here's
suck.
the
A
time that
ghost
you
story
almost
that
bought
no
a
one
house.
believe.
Yeah. You probably would have
But-
researched the house.
She would have.
I would have the whole folder. I would be
Right.
like, guys, let me show you what happened to the chimps.
God, when I get to a place of buying a house, I'm gonna hit you up and be like, "Who
Yeah.
was murdered here?"
Yeah.
and you will find out.
I need everything.
I'm just going to make it up to make it more
Okay,
interesting.
well, that's not.
It's not nice.
That's not nice.
That's not cool.
You will not be invited to the house hearing party.
Good, because it's haunted.
Okay.
So Allegedly. So, keeping with even more exposition that is brought
Right.
to us in a way that is actually very
This
interesting.
episode was like very gory, yet also just like
Love
very
it.
detail oriented. It was just a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
information.
Love
This
it.
was such a good one because I love that it was like listening to a radio drama that then had gorgeous visuals just added to it. So it was one that was so
Right.
that's I think was what's really setting this season apart from the other seasons is because it doesn't have the multiple storylines that are all
Right.
connected. It's staying right now with this one storyline. We're wrapping up loose ends as we're getting questions.
Right.
So they're being answered as we're getting new ones
Right.
instead of having a bombardment of here's a whole bunch of questions. We have
Right.
no idea what's going on.
Right.
Then here's a couple answers sprinkled in.
Right. Because now we just move to a separate moment where now Matt and Shelby are alone in the house again. And they agree, like, maybe we can rest finally because we know Cricket's coming back with the answer to everything. And we feel safe to some extent right now. So they probably haven't slept in a few days. So maybe let's take a cat nap.
Yeah,
And-
but in the immortal words of Sublime, there ain't no rest for the wicked.
No.
And-
or the horny wicked.
Yeah. When the wicked is wicked and they're also trying to get some,
That damn
You got no
Sasquatch
chance.
got some.
Sasquatch. The sex
Whatever she's
squatch.
called.
Wait, yeah, what is she called again?
She's the Scathach.
Scathage.
But I like
Sasquatch.
sex squatch.
Sasquatch.
Yeah.
I like sex squatch better. So, of course.
She calls
Of
Matt.
course, they say, here, you take a little nap, sweetie. Everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cricket only promised my bits and pieces to a dead, angry, wood-dwelling nymph,
she-devil. Like,
Yeah.
I don't-
she-devil, demon. It's no big deal. He hears some noises. He goes outside with a gun. At this point, yeah, you're hearing noises. We know. We know
Right.
there are things making noises. None of them are good. Don't go towards the noise.
I turned to you guys and I was like, guys, Scooby-Doo, that show taught us one thing is you don't
Jeez.
split up.
No, ever.
There's
ever.
two
we
of you
already
left.
know that it's not the owner in a mask.
Right.
This is the real ghost scenario.
Right. And-
Don't go chase it.
And you were just attacked by a pig man who once stabbed, jumped right back up. So what's the gun gonna do, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah. He is not thinking logically. Stay with your wife. But the cellar is open. He is called to the cellar. He thinks, hey, maybe Elias is alive.
Oh.
Maybe he was shot a few times. Maybe he dragged himself to the cellar. Cellar is his go-to.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna hold out and assume that maybe that Matt getting the knockout thing in the very first episode is supposed to be indicative of him
What's
having
going
brain
on?
trauma and him having a lack of judgment.
And all
because
of this.
You're being
man,
so sweet.
man, is he drawing some dumbass conclusions?
Yes, because that
Like-
cellar looks like a boom boom room.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like in a pitch black night, you see in the ground a nice little glowing box.
That's all romantic.
I'm sorry.
No.
Do not climb down that ladder. Slam that thing shut and lock it.
Not even. Don't leave the house.
Well,
Or
that
if you
also.
hear all these, there were whispers, but they weren't quite whispers.
And he told you before when they were walking through the forest, don't listen to it.
Don't listen to it. Don't listen. And then what does he do?
He listens.
He
listens.
He goes down and
But I will say, in his defense too, Elias also said, hey, don't worry, I got this.
right.
So, I don't really trust Elias too much at this point.
But
Oh, no.
I mean, I guess we can assume that because he gets down there and we do see the Scathitch.
Scathitch. Sex Squatch.
I'm gonna call her the Sex Squatch the rest of the season. Sorry, guys. Sex Squatch is down there, and we're just like, of course. But then you hear him. This experience, he's conscious the whole time because this is now going back and forth between what's happening in the bunker and also his interview with the producers, and he's explaining that he was very much aware that he had no control of what was happening. So this is different from the first time because this time she's letting her guard down to him, and in the midst of the boom boom in the room, she she subconsciously reveals her history to him.
But first she lets him know that debts must be paid.
Yeah.
But
Get
she,
that
In the
booty.
creepiest way, which the debts is, of course.
The debts is the
baby?
booty.
I don't know if it's a baby. I think it might be some
She
sort
just
of demon.
wants-
I mean, this show is all about demon babies. I feel
Yeah.
like we haven't had a demon baby
We're gonna
yet.
get one.
I feel like there's going to be a demon baby.
Yeah, because
Right.
so the sex squash and his wife both want babies.
Yeah.
Well, she wants
Is
sex,
she-
but I don't know.
Yeah, and we know Shelby lost the baby,
Yeah.
so I feel like this baby thing somehow ties
It's
in.
around.
But yeah, so we get the backstory. She reveals herself, and we find out that, yeah, she was an English girl who smuggled herself onto a ship that had a tumultuous journey to the New World. They find her, and because they feel that the sea gods are angered by having a woman on board, which also, that was a real thing.
Yeah.
Really?
Sexy.
Yeah.
Honestly, come on.
Yeah.
guys. Come on. Okay.
Yeah. It's all right.
That was their excuse for not bringing their wives and girlfriends back in the day, so they just made it with the native
Which
women.
is
But
also
whatever.
why they saw mermaids that were actually just manatees. So when you start seeing manatees going, that looks like a beautiful woman, maybe the sea gods wouldn't have been so angry if you brought some
they
real
wouldn't
ones.
have.
But
True.
doesn't quite work out for them because they say, well, we got to burn her as a witch. Clearly the only option.
Right.
That's what you do to
Only
women.
option. She decides instead she's going to get a little bit stabby.
This was the only part of the episode for me where I feel like they kind of just gloss over the an actual explanation, just kind of like
How it was.
they basically
power.
they
She
basically
killed
just said that they're older, more powerful gods than what these people were worshiping. And so between like her like woman scorned wrath and her ability to murder this man to try and free herself before she was burned alive, she just came to be into this power. And they just said like the new world and the old religion or whatever they called
The
it created
old gods
her.
and the
Yeah.
new world
Make it
Yes.
combined.
Yeah.
So
Which I
very
agree.
vague.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with
I
that.
don't understand how we have this backstory that's so set in colonial times, and we're not seeing any Native Americans at all. Like, if that's supposed to be, like...
I mean, then they throw out, like, so then she murders this entire, like, colony of what they call the white something.
Yeah, she goes through...
She kills a bunch of men there.
Yeah, she kills everybody.
And this was, like, I don't know if this was an actual historical event that Native Americans were blamed for, that there's now actually saying, no, it was her.
Oh, that just happened all the time, was that people would show up and then they would be slaughtered. And they would also, you know, there was a lot of, could it have been colonial people just killing each other and blaming it on the Native Americans, which I also think, they were pretty barbaric people.
Yeah.
They were not just a chill... when you think of the Puritans, that is a misnomer, because they were not very pure. I love that face.
I'm just gonna sip.
We're wrapping it up.
Sip that, yeah.
So we find out this backstory, this loose backstory, that now this is how she has come into power. She's now this powerful being that roams the woods. And then, right when Matt is saying, basically, this is the most soulful connection he's had.
That's what I got mad about.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
I was like, oh no. Shelby?
It's one thing to cheat on your wife because the ghost makes you. It's another thing to be like, it was real good with that ghost.
And she was the most intimate connection I've had.
Yeah, Shelby's...
She's not going to be liking that playback.
No, I would not be too pleased with that if I were her.
But I think,
Shelby's voice...
don't we have to assume that he's saying this because of the spell that he was under? Like, I don't think it's genuine.
That it was compelled, that it wasn't, you know, like...
I mean, but then again, I don't blame
he
him.
obviously loves Shelby,
he didn't say
and he doesn't
sex was
love
awesome.
this ghost.
He said his connection with her was the most...
in his aftermath interviews that we keep seeing, he says some dumb stuff. Not even, like, the weird, like, denying of ghosts dumb stuff. Like, he just... I don't know. He just doesn't seem like a with it guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just mad that he said
No, I'm
that.
saying, like, with that aspect, I kind of agree with you. It's like, don't you think also, like
Matt, come on, get it
theoretically,
together, man.
if you're filming a TV show, don't you think that, maybe we're going to come to see that they break up? Because it's like, wouldn't you think Shelby's going to see this? And, like,
Yeah.
you know,
and...
even though all the trauma you went through, I think that will still sting a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
A lot.
A lot. I think he's just not even thinking about what he's saying, and he is not even realizing how it's coming across. But luckily, his connection with Shelby is still pretty strong because her voice is what snaps him out of it. And when the producers ask, why do you think that this connection was so deep? Why do you think she was showing you all of this? Why do you think she was opening herself up to you? He says, because she wanted me to join her. And I would have.
Oh, I forgot about that.
But then Shelby walks out and hears... or sees really all of the colonial people coming
to the house.
Coming to the house. She screams Matt's name. He's broken from the trance, runs up, and who does the butcher have?
Aww.
Flora. And they freak out. But the whole everything that's been leading is trying to see, are we going to get Flora back? Are we going to get Flora back? And because we're used to having our hearts broken, we think, no, it's not going to happen. They get Flora back.
Yep. Thanks to...
at a cost.
Well, okay, so at least I loved this because this is kind of unnecessary, but I loved that Priscilla wanted to save her friend.
Yeah.
She wanted a better outcome for her than what she experienced. So she comes in before the butcher can cut Flora open to what she says is spill new blood this year, or whatever she says. Which I think that is a goal for her. She doesn't care anymore. She wants to...
sacrifice the blood moon. She wants it to be a literal blood moon.
Yes. So, Priscilla comes up from behind, pushes Flora free, so she just books it straight to Matt and Shelby. And then they retreat back into the house.
And she says...
Guys, I don't even want to finish this story.
I know.
This is when... we get our hearts ripped out because Cricket gets his intestines ripped out.
But it was awesome.
So one already.
It was awesome.
The sound effects. I don't. I apologize. I don't know the actor's name. The squeal that he was letting out as he was just being
Leslie Jordan.
Leslie Jordan. There you go. was getting
I know,
his
because it's the same last name as me.
stomach. And then Beverly Leslie from his character in Will and Grace. So when he's getting his stomach cut open, I mean, it was just a big combination of that was so like slow and grueling. I literally thought, I was like, okay, that was bad enough. No.
Yeah.
Damn, the son?
Captain
You,
Hook.
you do nothing good for
Ambrose.
Ambrose comes
made
out
his
with a
mama
damn
proud.
hook.
Look. Like, I know what you
And
did
we're
last
like,
summer.
no. I assumed like
That
face
was when,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
This one I was like, we got Psycho, we got I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like
Yeah.
now, I feel like they were referencing some of the older horror movies, and now we're starting to
Until
move
this was
into
a new
some of the
thing.
more like classic.
I've never seen a murder straight up like this, where he literally dug into the cut, hooked the intestine, and slowly stretched the whole thing out,
Disemboweled
which we
him
literally
alive.
He's alive.
watched.
What? But I do have to say, this was a tame version of what actually happened to the colonial people, because they were not only disemboweled, they were first flayed. So they cut all the first layer of skin off of each of them while they were alive and bleeding. Then that's when they would be disemboweled, alive the entire time.
That's horrible. See, that should have happened to those nurse sisters. That's what I
Exactly.
wanted. I wanted that to happen to them.
That's how I feel. They should have been disemboweled. They should not
wanted them.
be playing in a circle of happiness for all of eternity.
Yeah.
They should be
Well,
out there getting punched.
I mean, that's a new aspect, though. Now that we understand how this spell works, Cricket's there. Like,
Cricket's
his ghost...
stuck.
we don't know the turnaround time, but his ghost is going to
but
be
this is
there.
the thing.
and-
If Cricket is there, can't he still tell them how to do the spell? Because
I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
he can
Theoretically.
Because now that veil in between the worlds has been lifted, so now
Right.
isn't this the perfect time for him to be killed? Because
Right.
then he can just be like, "Hey guys,
Right.
it's disemboweled, but if you guys don't want to be, go get that sage."
Ultimately, like,
What's
we're
not?
in a very interesting place where we were discussing, as we've discussed previously, that it's been announced that episode 6 should be a big turning point for the season. This was episode 4.
Oh, jeez.
And Alana said earlier when we were watching that this episode, it seems very, third act, it's coming to a climax. So now that we have them stuck in this house, it's the blood moon. We understand the ghosts can basically do whatever they want at this point because of the cycle. We kind of are at like the show off moment in a horror story where we get to fight back if that's what we choose to do, which seems very, we're coming to an end.
And our central
So-
dramatic question, the overarching thing, the question that we want answered, are they going to get Flora back, has just been answered.
Right.
So
we
now
got
we're kind of
that.
hit the denouement. Like, we need to just see how this story ends.
But then
So
we
then
have
how-
this aspect we keep forgetting is that, well, not really forgetting, but you can get wrapped up in what you're watching that you forget. One, that this is all technically a reenactment, and two, that therefore they're still actively giving this moment back to the producers in interview style. So I mean, we have to assume that they do in fact survive this.
Yeah.
Which I think will lead us right into
Part
some
2 of this.
predictions.
Yes. Ooh.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So we've been saying, we know that next week's episode is going to be, we're assuming, kind of the
wrapping
wrapping up
what
of
we've been
what
watching
we know
so
of
far.
this story.
Yeah.
Which last week we talked about the interview that Ryan Murphy gave in Entertainment Weekly, where he said, what you think you've been watching is not what you're watching. Episode 6 is going to take a whole new spin. Then episode 10 is going to be its own thing.
So do you think, I mean, episode 10, would we assume, like, just sets up the next season?
I almost think it ties the two together. I think it's going to
Okay.
be one thing, then 10 links them. So I
so
think
you're
it's
saying
going to
you
be
think
like,
that they're like completely separate chunks. Like you think we're going to get like a start from scratch, almost like a pilot or a...
I think it's going to be linked. I think Evan Peters, since we haven't seen him yet, I think he's going to come into play episode 6. And potentially the producers side of it, it's going to break that fourth wall.
Right.
We're now, instead of seeing the reenactment, we're going to see the producers. We're going to see them actually creating the show. And they will have been
Right.
haunted or whatever.
Yeah.
The spiritual thing will now be coming after the crew. So now it's going to be a whole...
Okay.
Everything switched. This is the show that never aired, the My Roanoke Nightmare, because
Right.
it couldn't air because everyone was murdered.
Right.
Maybe.
That's the direction I'm going.
I mean, that's where we would have to assume it goes, because I mean, I feel like that has to be the intention of introducing this weird documentary style thing, where we essentially still have like a whole other set of characters we don't really know yet, but we know exist, you know?
And we have to know that they're not safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no risk.
The only other thing I can see, which it also could be involved in this, is that the baby aspect does come back. Whether it's somehow in Shelby or... I don't know. It's hard. I mean, when we're just being told that things get completely flipped, it's hard to predict things. But I think we're going to see, at least in the next episode, we're going to see like a good struggle and a good battle. But I think what would be like the final moments of a horror film where they really fight like tooth and nail to escape this, and they do successfully.
It's going to be the Michael Myers where we see him get stabbed and burned, and that's the end, and then the body's gone.
But I think if I had to assume, as you alluded to earlier, I think the fact that Cricket's dead doesn't mean that he's useless.
No.
Yeah.
I think he's the one in the spirit world that's going to be able to do things and stand up to the butcher.
Right. Or, I mean, if anything, still tell them, like, what they can do.
To guide them.
I hope so.
I don't
because I don't want to see the last of him. I also want to see more of Elias, because I feel like that was a tease of having him be alive, and then
Elias is donezo.
He's probably donezo, but I want to see some backstory, at least like some flashbacks, something.
I don't know. I mean, maybe we can assume that Dennis O'Hara will play a different aspect in like the second part of the season. I don't know.
Or maybe him and Cricket will partner up in the afterlife because they know the most.
Yeah, because he's stuck there too. Elias is.
My other thing is, since we now know. Since there is so much of this Roanoke tie, there's so many direct ties to the first season, and that and Hotel, well, and Coven, I guess, but we only have a few seasons that are so obviously in the same time frame, and we know, I just feel like in Hotel and Murder House both take place in Los Angeles, not just filmed in Los Angeles, but their stories are there. I have to wonder if now we will flip to the production, assuming it would be in LA.
That it's in LA, and that they flew them from North Carolina to LA, and that's how it ties in.
And that we're going to see something, I don't know what it would be, but something that's going to put them right back in those same worlds.
I love that.
The Murder House, and I don't know, maybe they stay in the hotel. Who knows? Like,
yeah, they could be. Oh, wouldn't that be the ultimate twist? Is that they stay in the Cortez while they're filming? It's so like, geez, guys.
Explain Lady Gaga's both her characters.
There was one moment in the chat tonight when a lot of the fans were saying that they feel like this season is them kind of undoing all the wrongs that they felt have been done in the past seasons.
I feel the same way.
It seems like it's very directly tying things together, at least.
Because that's been, I think, the biggest complaint that a lot of audience members have had, is that, you know, they've introduced all of these questions without giving us enough answers, and this one they've made a conscious effort to, when we ask a question, it will be wrapped up.
Right.
We will make sure that there are no loose ends.
Right.
Because there are multiple seasons that I loved, but there were things at the end I was like, but what about this, and this, and it was just like, meh. So I would love if we could maybe get some of those loose ends from previous seasons kind of brought in. I don't know if that's asking too much.
No, I think that's fair. Because I think
I mean, I think they've done enough illusion already this season that there are ways that
they're wrapping something up to go into something else. Yeah. We're agreeing with our predictions for the most part.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
The next 2 weeks, I'm gonna be losing my mind waiting for Wednesdays.
So we're gonna have more wine and donuts.
I'll just consistently drink until Wednesday, so it goes by quicker.
And until then, too, to help with our drinking habits, we would rather not drink and just talk to you guys if we could.
Yeah.
So chat with us. You guys can find us on Twitter. Again, you can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at Alana Jordan Girl.
And now, Michelle, you could find me on Twitter at MICH_Madison TV or Instagram at Michelle_Madison TV.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Kelch. Have a good night or day.
Yeah, and don't forget, you can find us at AfterBuzz TV on Twitter, so be sure to tag us. Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.